Welcome. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. I'm the host of this here programming. I'm Gav. I do this shit every what the hell? I do this shit every Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I give you guys MMA picks, tips, parlays, tricks, What the hell is going on? Ugh. This is weird and pissing me off what's happening right now. But anyways, um my mic keeps cutting out for no reason. But yeah, this is the show. This is what we do. We gave you guys a watch along for UFC Shanghai, you know, nice and early 3 a.m. action. I seen a lot of you in the chat there. Appreciate everybody that showed up. Appreciate everybody that showed up. I don't know what's up with my mic right now. It started to piss me off. It's really starting to get me mad. But it's all good. It's all good. It's here now. We'll see if it stays. Don't forget to follow on social. Main card man on your left. One more round fights on your right. That's right. Scan that QR code below so you can become a fan of the channel. Don't forget to sub. Don't forget to like the video. Okay. We're still getting into that. Lots to talk about. Plenty of shit that happened this weekend. Couple things that we didn't expect to happen. Couple things that, you know, we should have happened or should have been speculated. So I'm glad to see that those things are finally getting into place. So yeah, I feel like shout out to our sponsor W.GG. Use promo code one more round for 10% off. That's promo code one more round for 10% off. But yeah, there's so many things that happen between UFC Shanghai, between PFL 10, between the Rampage Jackson and the Jackson podcast camp. New fights were announced. Potential fights are on the horizon. Lots of things happen. So I'm not going to waste any time. I'm just going to get straight up into it. Before I do that, let's see what the chat's popping on right now. Sleeto in the chat says, start off the show by matchmaking for Rajah Jackson. I got you. I'll do a little of that. Wheels Up says, please, I agree with Sleeto. The assault highlights MMA's misinterpretation era as well. Wheels Up says, why do youth confuse self-promotion with anger? How can we as lovers of combat sports artistry address its decline and ugliness without drawing negative attention? That's a great question, Wheels Up. I'll address that in a little bit as well. Lazy Bed says, ding, ding, ding. Alex says, what are the odds Rajah spends 5 years in prison? Very low, but he will be facing some charges, and it's Rampage Jackson. He has very good connections with higher ups. I mean, he's good friends with Dana White and other very powerful people where his legal team will be good. So you don't have to worry about that. And he's got lots of money tucked away as a former fighter and as a guy at the head of a podcast that's really successful at the moment. So that should not be an issue for Rajah. The issue is exactly what he will be dealing with from the backlash from this. Sleeto says, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Shout out Maze. Wheels also says, we were sleepy hardcores. Yeah, that was a tough one. But we toughed it out. You feel me? UFC Shanghai absolutely fucked my sleep schedule. Same with me. I was ruined on Saturday. I had no type of Saturday night. I passed out so fucking early. I was barely a human. And then Wheels Up says mine too. All right, so let's get into it. We got MMA updates. That's what we like to start the show with every single time. And first update that we got on the board today is that Emmett versus Zalal is one of the fights that has been added to UFC 320. If you don't know, Josh Emmett versus UF Zalal has been added to UFC 320. Ankalaev versus Pereira 2. So that'll be a fun little featherweight matchup. That's another great fight for Zalal to get another good name under his belt at 45. And short notice fight. So that means that's another opportunity for Emmett to get back on the board as well. Neither guy has too much tape on each other. So that fight should be coming up soon in September. And I can't wait. I'm definitely going to be going with Zalal here. Emmett, solid fighter, a little over the hill, especially with his age at this point. He's had his title shot. He squandered it. He went 5 rounds with the current champion at the weight class above and the former champion of his weight class. So Plenty of things for Youssef Zalal to take from Emmett. Not too much from Emmett to take. He just needs to win this fight. This is a tough fight for Emmett. So Youssef Zalal is a tough fight for anybody. He's one of those fighters in that new class of MMA fighters. So I can't wait to see what happens in that one. Also, we have Islam Makhachev stating about Khamzat Chimaev that he understood that the type of thing he was trying to do with that match, he was just trying to win. He wasn't trying to inflict damage. He was just trying to control and win the fight, blah, blah, blah. Showing big respect to Khamzat Chimaev and saying that he doesn't want that smoke. He does not want to fight Khamzat Chimaev and has no intent to do so. Which is great thinking for Islam Makhachev because you're already reaching pretty high at 70. Don't start looking at 85 thinking you're tough shit before you even start getting the 70 fight. Okay, but he, other than that, Islam Makhachev says he's open to a super fight with Ilia Topuria after fighting Jack Della Maddalena. I can't wait because if he, in fact, does pass the test against Jack Della Maddalena and gets an opportunity to defend his 170 belt against Ilia Topuria or go back and win his 55 belt against Ilia Topuria and have two belts, which is obviously the most enticing for him, but obviously just defending your one belt won't be as lucrative as getting your old belt back as well as having the 70 belt. So that's the angle that I would hope that he would want to do, but obviously Ilia Topuria would be looking to get his third belt and two belts in a row as well. So interesting if that ever does happen. I want to see which way they go with it. Are we going down to 55 or are we going up to 70 for Ilia? So interesting, but Islam Makhachev indeed saying that he's open to that super fight in the future. And now for the main event of MMA updates, which you guys all want to hear about. It's Rajah Jackson. Rajah Jackson is an amateur / professional MMA fighter and the son of Rampage Jackson. And he got himself into a little bit of hot water this weekend. He attended a wrestling promotion. And upon entering the wrestling promotion, he walked up to one of the biggest guys there and said, "What up?" And that guy responded by smashing a can over his head. Now, if you know wrestling and wrestling culture, you know that anywhere and anywhere is how wrestlers do it. It's they're always on. They, especially earlier stages of wrestling. So thinking that this guy's Rajah Jackson, I'm saying, as in this guy, is coming up to him and trying to make a name on himself in wrestling, he, pulls a little wrestling stunt on him, grabs a little beer can, braces his head as he does it, and hits him with the beer can over the head. Now, obviously, it wasn't as painful as if he took a real glass bottle and smashed it over Rajah Jackson's head, but, it is what it is. And Rajah Jackson, being an MMA fighter and a fighter from the streets, takes this as a huge disrespect and saying, "What the fuck was that? Who is this guy?" Blah, blah, blah. They get into a little altercation. One guy gets in between them, separates them, stating this guy is not a worker, indicating that Rajah Jackson is not a worker. He's not a wrestler. He's not trying to do what you think he's trying to do. So after all that, the wrestler and Rajah Jackson seemingly shake hands on the situation. The guy apologizes, says sorry, and the beef seems squashed, right? Now the actual wrestling event starts. Beforehand, one of the promoters of the event goes up to Rajah Jackson and he says, "Yeah, you can get your payback on him. You can get you should double leg him, and you can fuck him up." Rajah Jackson, not being a wrestler, takes this as, "Oh, I could really beat this guy up. I'm going to land a punch on him. If he lands a punch on me, it is what it is. We're going to fight in there." And obviously, the situation was taken way out of control because Rajah Jackson does indeed gets into the middle of this guy's match as he's fighting someone else, wrestling someone else, fighting, but wrestling someone else. He drops his opponent to the ground. He gets up. As he gets up, Rajah Jackson enters the ring. He comes up from behind him, picks him up, and slams him, double leg slams him so hard that the back of his head hits the mat, and he's immediately knocked out. Then Rajah Jackson stands over him and continues to land 20 unanswered strikes as the guy is already unconscious from the slam. The referee's next to him screaming, "Hey, stop it, get off of him," but not intervening whatsoever, not doing his job as a referee, which is what you're supposed to do, is get in between them, Okay. I know he's not an official MMA referee, but that's what the referee's supposed to do. They're not supposed to just yell and hope that he stops. That's definitely not the situation. So then multiple other wrestlers have to get into the ring and stop the strikes from Rajah Jackson onto this wrestler, the wrestler's name being Psycho Stu. So now all these fighters are trying to wrestle Rajah Jackson off, and this guy is unconscious. The aftermath is that this guy took several minutes to wake up from this beating that he didn't even know that he was going to take, because again, he never saw Rajah Jackson coming. Rajah Jackson entered from behind him, slammed him, and before he knew it, he was out cold. So this guy took several minutes, but eventually he woke up. Thankfully, he is okay. He did not pass away as of now. But this was the message from Rampage Jackson, father of Rajah Jackson, because obviously Rajah Jackson, not thinking rationally, has said multiple things. Rajah Jackson was also saying, "Don't call me a bitch. I'm not a bitch," all this other stuff, which may be some backlash from him earlier in the week, getting 360 tornado head kicked on his own stream and wobbled. A lot of people, since this was streamed on Twitch, talked a lot of shit about Rajah Jackson because of the saying he let a 35er rock him, blah, blah, blah. Even his own father on stream was making fun of it and saying jokes about, hey, my son almost got knocked out today, all these other jokes. And seemingly, internet culture. Internet culture probably ate this up and has been, chiming and chippering at Rajah Jackson all week, saying the same things. You're a bitch. At 35, almost took you out. How are you going to be a pro fighter? Your dad, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying that this definitely happened, but I'm assuming that a lot of this happened that could have led to this. That's my reasoning for what could have made Rajah Jackson explode this week. I don't know if that's for sure the reason, but that definitely has to be a piece of the puzzle that leads to this very messy picture that we're seeing. And then this is the statement from Rampage Jackson. I want to clear up the misinformation about my son Rajah. I've been confirmed that the wrestler Stuart Smith, aka Psycho Stu, is awake and stable. Rajah was unexpectedly hit in the side of the head by him moments before Smith's match. Rajah was told that he could get payback in the ring. I thought it was part of the show. It was a bad judgment and a work that went wrong. Rajah is an MMA fighter and not a pro wrestler, and had no business being involved in an event like this. I do not condone my son's actions at all. He suffered a concussion from sparring only days ago and had no business doing anything remotely close to physical contact. As a father, I'm deeply concerned with his health and the health and well-being of Mr. Smith. That being said, I'm very upset that any of this happened, but my main concern now is that Mr. Smith will make a speedy recovery. I apologize on his behalf to kick for the situation. So yeah, even Rampage Jackson himself referring to the concussion that Rajah Jackson took earlier in the week from that spinning tornado kick in sparring with one of his training partners. So yeah, that puts a nice little bow on, and that gives anybody that's wondering what exactly happened insight into the entire situation. So unfortunately for Rajah, this is definitely going to end in some legal troubles. I don't think it'll end in any serious jail time unless Mr. Psycho Stu decides to, um, pursue certain charges like manslaughter, like, anything like that. But I think we're leaning more towards battery. We're leaning more towards assault. We're leaning more towards those charges, which, yes, could definitely lead to jail time, but it's not the jail time that you guys may be thinking. It would definitely be closer to days more than years, is what I'm saying. But yeah, that's the whole situation. He's definitely going to need a good lawyer. He's definitely going to have some trials to appear at, unless Mr. Stu and literally nobody wants to press charges for the situation that happened. But I know that the promotion put out certain messages stating that definitely some people in the arena were surprised at exactly what took place. And I can imagine there were some kids in the audience that may have been, traumatized from the situation, especially since wrestling is usually a family-friendly environment. So we'll see what happens from that. I don't know. We can only see what happens throughout the rest of the week, and I guess the Jackson camp will report back on exactly how things are going. All I can say is my prayers are going out for Rampage Jackson, Rajah Jackson, and Psycho Stu's families and anybody else that was involved, because that was a vicious beating that he took, especially for someone that is a retired veteran, especially for someone that's older in age and that is probably not used to taking a beating that severe. But yeah, it was something to see, and unfortunately some bad is going to come from this, but prayers are out for everyone's families to become better from this, because that's definitely not something we want to see in MMA. And for matchmaking for Rajah, if he does come out from this, if anything, this is going to create more star power and stardom for him. And places like the PFL, I wouldn't see Rajah going far from ending up in a place like the PFL if he wanted to pursue that. Because keep in mind, Rampage Jackson has fought in all the promotion. He's fought in Strikeforce. He's fought in Bellator. He's fought in the UFC. He's fought in Pride. He's got connections everywhere. So Rajah's not too far from anywhere. Well, the farthest he's from right now is the UFC, because I'm pretty sure they won't want to touch any of that. But for other smaller promotions that may be trying to make a name and give a kid a chance, PFL might be it. And imagine like a Ray Cooper, Rajah Jackson fight. Heavy bombs from the top. That's all I gotta say. Yeah, and those are the MMA updates. Let's see what's happening in the chat. Oh, I have to answer a question earlier, right? So Wheels Up says, why do youth confuse self-promotion with anger? How can we as lovers of combat sports artistry address its decline and ugliness without drawing negative attention? It's tough, man, because you want to show that you're a good fighter, and the only way to show that you're a good fighter is to viciously beat someone down. And sometimes you can't always do that in the cage or in the octagon or wherever you're fighting. And sometimes these other opportunities are where your opportunities are to show how good you are. Sparring in the gym, random street fight video of you from the past, getting an altercation with another fighter at a promotion or at an event or something like that. Like, a la Brendan Allen and Marvin Vettori. Some of these things increase your stardom, but they're not great optics. And obviously these young fighters see these older fighters doing it in these situations. It makes them think it's the right thing to do, but it's not the right thing to do. That's in all cases the wrong thing to do, because you're endangering the public at these points, because you are a professional fighter and you are in public spaces making other people exposed to something that they necessarily didn't come to see. Especially with the wrestling promotion, they came to see wrestling. They didn't just come to see somebody get viciously beat down to the mat. In the case of Marvin Vettori and Brendan Allen, these people went to the casino to fucking win money or lose money. They didn't come to see a fist fight. So especially as lovers of combat sports, the biggest thing that we should be instilling in these young fighters is respect. That's the whole thing that martial arts was built upon, is respect for your opponent, respect for the sport. You're supposed to carry yourself in a certain way. Discipline is supposed to be one of the top 3 things in all martial arts, in every different art, whether it's boxing, jiu-jitsu, MMA as a whole, taekwondo, karate. Discipline is supposed to be one of those things, and that's lost on a lot of young fighters these days. The discipline is not there. They think it's cool to just skip training. They think it's cool to just fight people in the street, even though they know they have a clear advantage. They think it's cool to beat somebody down on a video and post it for the world to see. They think that stuff's cool, and it's not. So that's the problem. And it's more of a thing with the internet age than a thing with martial arts, in my opinion. I think the internet age is way too much it's too big of a part in our youth lives at this point. But it's not going anywhere. Technology is only going to advance us, and sometimes it's going to advance us in bad ways. And this is one of those bad ways, unfortunately. What I miss? Cosmo says, shout out to Tommy Fleetwood finally getting his first W on the tour. Great golfer, better man. Cheers. Yeah, and shout out to Wayne C also. Death Squad Requiem? I can't remember. But yo, shout out to Lane C. I don't understand what Raja was trying to accomplish by walking up on the dude in the first place. Yeah, like you didn't even set up the fight. You literally, he was in the air wondering who the fuck's pants he was looking at from behind because it was a double leg. He picked him up over his head and then cocked him back a little bit. So the guy's like, "Whose pants are these?" And then before he knew it, he woke up in a hospital. That's what happened. His kick chat was also calling him a bitch for taking the can smash to the head without responding. Got rage baited by chat to ruin his life. Exactly. So another thing, like he's being influenced by these, random people behind their computers elsewhere in the world rather than somebody that should be with him, advising him. Like, somebody should have been with him, whether it was his brother, his dad, somebody close, not just some random nerdy Twitch streamer that's like, come on, Rasha, we gotta go. We gotta get out of here. Like, no, what the fuck was that? You had one dude with you, bro? Why were you going to this event? Dolo, just you and some cameraman, first of all, especially if you thought you were going to do something like this. You should have gave someone a call after this. Like, yo, bro, I'm about to beat the shit out this dude. What should I do? They would probably advise you to leave. You shouldn't stay around there and then watch this dude's fight, jump in there and beat the shit out of him. They probably wouldn't have said that. That's all I got to say. Cosmo says Rampage statement seemed like an inability to take responsible for his son's actions. Massive lawsuit probably coming. Yeah. I mean, definitely his son's actions were not warranted, but they were definitely enabled by people that were on site for sure. They were definitely enabled by somebody. It's not right what Raja did, but it's not completely his fault because there was somebody that was part of the promotion that was also telling him to do these things. It's not like Raja just made the decision on his own to go in there. It was definitely a plan with multiple parties. So that is the thing that Rampage was trying to get across. He wasn't accepting fault because also this will be a legal battle. So you definitely don't want to make a statement that will accept fault in any single way, shape, or form, because that will be used against you in a court of law. So yeah. And then Cosmo says 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina felt like yesterday. George Bush doesn't care about black people. Too many died because they didn't give a fuck. Yeah, man. Hurricane Katrina was crazy. That was a wild time in America. I mean, shout out to Kanye West. But yeah, those are the MMA updates. A little longer MMA updates today because of so much shit that happened, but it was pretty big. Let's get into what really happened over the weekend. Now, we have some MMA, and Johnny Walker wows the crowd at UFC Shanghai by defeating Zhang Mingyang by TKO. This was a TKO in, you guessed it, round 2, 2 minutes and 37 seconds, just barely hit the over 1.5. But yes, it did. Johnny Walker looking like Johnny Walker. I mean, he walked in there before he even walked in there. He shaves his mustache off to look like Hamzat Chimaev, then gets in there, shoots a takedown in the messiest, least technical way possible, ends up on bottom, nearly gets mounted, and then has to fight his way back into the fight from there. Ming Yang lands a lot of great strikes, lands some powerful strikes, and easily takes round 1. Now, in the process, Ming Yang was eating some shots from Johnny Walker, took a bunch of leg kicks, and then in round 2, Johnny Walker built upon those leg kicks that he was dishing out to Zhang in round 1, beat him up, hurt his leg, had him drop, beat him up with some ground and pound, and then forced the ref to step in. Johnny Walker knocks him out, TKO. Zhang Mingyang, another prospect, another fraud checked. I mean, Johnny Walker finally gets on the winning track after a hellacious few years for our boy Johnny Walker. I mean, the last couple years were not good for Johnny Walker. Just think about it. I mean, getting knocked out by Magomed Ankalaev, having a no contest with Magomed Ankalaev in 23, then getting knocked out by him in 2024, and then getting knocked out by Volkan Ozdemir by a punch half a year later. 2024 was probably the worst year of Johnny Walker's life. Probably. But anyways, he finally bounces back with a big main event TKO win in Shanghai, China, also securing himself a performance of the night bonus. So shout out to Johnny Walker. Shout out to Walter Walker. The brothers are back. They broke my theory of brothers doing well at the same time. I guess both the Usmans, the Topurias, and the Walkers are all proving me wrong, because I guess two brothers can both have success in the same promotion at the same time. So yeah, that was great to see. Shout out to Johnny Walker. But now, what do we do with Johnny Walker? Because the UFC rankings are a little bit convoluted for him right now. A lot of people are around him that he's fought already. Okay, I mean, seriously, like all the people around him he's fought already. Okay, he's fought Volkan Ozdemir, the champions Magomed Ankalaev. Okay, Nikita Krylov he lost to. Okay, Khalil Roundtree he beat, but Khalil's above him. Khalil's not going to accept that fight. He's got a few issues here. If Ryan Spann somehow found his way in the top 15, that would be an issue as well. Even though he handily beat Ryan Spann. But you get the point. Jamal Hill, he lost to Jamal Hill. You know, a lot of these guys are up there already. So none of them are going to accept a fight against a guy that they've already beaten. So what does that leave for Johnny Walker? Well, that leaves for Johnny Walker an opportunity to get back, because I don't think he wants problems with Azamat Murzakanov. And if he does, maybe that's a good fight for him, because Azamat Murzakanov does have shorter limbs than him. Maybe Johnny Walker could land something wild and end the fight. That would be Johnny Walker's best fight for Johnny Walker. A new matchup, somebody he hasn't faced, somebody with shorter limbs, but also somebody that will be willing to strike with him. Worst case scenario, which is what I think is going to actually happen, he's going to have to rematch a couple people. He's going to rematch City. He's going to have to rematch either Volkan Ozdemir or Nikita Krylov. Fortunately for him, Nikita Krylov just got knocked out again. So that might be a winnable fight for him at this point. But Volkan Ozdemir has looked pretty dang solid, not too bad recently. And that might be another fight. I mean, he did lose by decision to Carlos Ulberg, but if he could get that win back over Volkan Ozdemir, that might launch him right back into that top 10. That might just do it. You know, he's got to jump 4 spots, but does Volkan Ozdemir want to accept that fight? Probably not. That's why I feel like the only real fight for him right now is, unfortunately, Nikita Krylov. And as for our boy Zhang Mingyang, he's probably going to have to fight somebody like an Alonzo Menifield, which is good for him, because Alonzo Menifield is one of those fighters that will oblige to strike with him. And he tends to stand in one spot. So that'll favor Zhang Mingyang to find that one big strike, probably up against the cage, and get himself right back into the title picture in the UFC. So, yeah. Glad to see that it was a fun fight at light heavyweight. It was a banger. I thought it was going to be a round 1 finish. It ended up being a round 2. It is what it is. It was still hella fun. And I'm glad to see that Johnny Walker gets back on track, and him and Walter Walker are both doing well in the UFC. You'll love to see brothers having a good time in the UFC. That's the dream right there, isn't it? You know? Wheels Up says, your perspective is spot on. As a crisis interventionist, I find these discussions vital for addressing combat violence and internet issues. Teaching self-control is key. Thanks. I appreciate that, Wheels Up. Cosmo Kramer says, Johnny, Mr. Scotland Walker, and Jan, the Polish Hammer, Blachowicz. I'm into it. Oh, but does Blachowicz want to fight that far under him? Blachowicz is a top 5er, and Johnny Walker is going to find himself at 12 at best. Maybe find himself above Krylov, but probably not. I don't see him jumping too far off that win. He's not going to jump up against above Murzakanov or Guskov or Ozdemir, who's got a win over him, or Dominic Reyes. So he's pretty much going to stay down there unless he fights up, which he's going to have to do against either a Murzakanov, a Krylov, and Ozdemir. None of these other guys are going to accept a fight against him. Maybe Rakic. Maybe Rakic might be willing to, thinking he's an easy fight. But yeah, I don't see too much for him, unfortunately. Ryu Ken says, dude, did you see Rampage's kid going crazy? Wild. Yeah, I just addressed that. If you want to check out the end of MMA Updates, I have a little lower. Yeah, I talked all about it, man. But yeah, Rampage's kid is going to definitely, Raja, we should address him by his name. Raja Jackson is definitely going to have some legal issues coming his way, for sure. Wheels Up also says, I've never seen a nerve like kick land with such effectiveness, drastically changing the fight's outlook. Yeah, that was wild. Just pounded that leg, and now at first we were like, Zhang Yang's about to finish Johnny Walker. Oh man, he's about to finish him. He's like, oh, his legs hurt. His legs hurt. Oh, he's backing up. It was crazy. It was just a complete switch. It was wild. Melker says, what up, Gav? Hope you good, my guy. It's 4 a.m. this side. I'm typing out my essay, which is due later today. Consequences of being a degenerate, but totally worth it. Thanks for helping me stay up, rip it. I got you, dog. Don't worry. I got you. Let's finish this shit up. Have a good night. That was my specialty back in college. I would literally not do my papers all week, even though I had plenty of time to. I just fill that time with, social stuff, going to parties, meeting people, all that type of stuff. And then night before, 2 nights before, I take that little orange pill. I bang it out. I bang that bitch out, bro. I finish that paper. I do like 2 pages over. Bro, I'd kill it. One of my favorite subjects growing up was history and English, because I loved writing, and I love shit that didn't change. Like math is always changing. You have to figure out new things. History is just the same shit, same fact every single time. You don't have to remember too much shit besides that. So that's why I liked history and English. I just love writing. I like the opportunity to get stuff down and get thoughts out and create shit. So yeah, and then Cosmos says, realistically for Aljo, who does Aljo have to beat to get a shot at Volker Murphy? Probably hoping Gene, Yair, or Marshall loses. Maybe fight Yair. Well, let's get to our next topic before we get into that. Oh, shit. Let's get into our next topic before we get into that. UFC Shanghai happened. There's plenty of fights. We just talked about Johnny Walker's big TKO win over Zhang Yang. And then in the co-main event, in a 5-round fight, Aljamain Sterling defeats Brian Ortega by unanimous decision, 50-45 across the board. They seem to think he blanked Brian Ortega. Maybe a couple 10-8s were in there, but I don't think so. Maybe they just thought he blanked him. I didn't think he blanked Ortega in those last 2 rounds. I thought Ortega was fighting back and it was going to be close in 4 and 5. But make no mistake about it, Aljamain Sterling completely dominated Brian Ortega in rounds 1, 2, and 3. He was beating him up on the feet, landing the better shots. He didn't even have to threaten with takedowns. That's how much he was feeling dominant in this fight. His jabs were landing crisply. He was popping the head back of Brian Ortega completely. Brian Ortega looked out of his element. Brian Ortega looked like the worst Brian Ortega we've ever seen in rounds 1, 2, and 3. And then something clicked. Aljamain Sterling says he landed a big shot on the arms, which may have injured his arm severely, because afterwards he had trouble bending it. In rounds 4 and 5, Brian Ortega roared back, landing pretty nice shots, pushing Aljamain Sterling back and completely stopped the offense of Aljamain Sterling. Brian Ortega was trying to finish the fight, especially in the last moments of the fight, landing big shots, jumping on submissions. He did everything he could to win the fight, but Aljamain Sterling did way too much fight building in rounds 1, 2, and 3, and he was ahead handily. And even the judges thought he won rounds 4 and 5. Apparently, I'm not sure how the scorecards broke down, but it was a 50-45 cleanly across the board. Keep in mind that this fight was at a catch weight of 153 pounds because Brian Ortega could not make the weight. They had to change the bout in the last couple of days before the fight came to fruition. It was, I think, just after the weigh-ins. But Aljamain Sterling made no mistake about it. He wasn't happy that it was a 5-round fight, but still fought those 5 rounds and came out on top. So shout out to Aljamain Sterling with a huge win. After the fight, he said he wants to make a case for a fight against the champion, Alexander Volkanovski, stating that he was a former champion in the division below. He was a champ in the division below. He says Volkanovski has a nice streak. He has a style that would pose some problems for Alexander Volkanovski, and he thinks he should be next in line for the title. And this should be Cosmo's question. Realistically for Aljo, who does Aljo have to beat to get a shot at Volker Murphy? Probably hoping Gene Yair or Mosar loses, maybe fight Yair. For me personally, if the next title shot is Murphy against Volkanovski, I don't think he has to do anything. I think he can just wait. He just beat the number 5 guy. The number 4 is probably going to get a title shot. Yair Rodriguez just beat Patricio Pitbull. I think it should be Yair Evloev, right? Because Evloev's decision over Aljo was decisive, but it wasn't exactly exciting. Let's put him in a fight against somebody exciting. Yair Rodriguez versus Evloev. If If Evloev could somehow get past that fight, maybe get him a title shot. But I feel like Aljamain Sterling would be a great matchup for either Lerone Murphy or Volkanovski. Because if Volkanovski beats Lerone Murphy, then Volkanovski fighting a former champion, adding another great name to his resume, that entices Volkanovski. If Murphy beats Volkanovski, adding a former champion to his resume looks great to Lerone Murphy. Fighting a guy like Movsar Evloev doesn't feel as exciting anymore. So, yeah, I think Aljo just put himself in a great spot, especially if he has to deal with this injury. The best thing that could have possibly happened to Aljo after winning this fight the way he did was having an injury, something to keep him out for a certain amount of time that he could dictate on his terms. This was the perfect situation for Aljamain Sterling, and I very well think he could find himself in a title shot very soon. I really do. A la Dan Henderson, a la how he got one over Michael Bisping. I could see Aljamain Sterling getting a title shot off of this win. That is all I'm going to say. I don't think he deserves one per se. I think one more win, because especially since the number one contender is who he lost to, getting a title shot over him would be somewhat egregious, but the accolades speak for themselves. And a big win like that in a headlining event, in an exciting fight. It did get exciting in rounds 4 and 5. Yes, it did, even though it was a boring jab fest for the first 3. Yeah. Aljamain Sterling's case is made. Melker says, literally my favorite subjects as well as those are the only ones that made me feel like a genius. I was a history major with a sociology major, secondary education degree. Shout out to the procrastinating paper writing homies. It's the only way to do it. It's the only way to do it. Also keeps it the freshest in your mind. I always hated writing a paper too early, because then I'm like, when the fuck did I write that? What did I write again? Because that shit is so far out of your mind by the time you submit it. It's so far. Hell yeah, Melker. Hell yeah. You're Richland in the house. What up, Richland? If Gene Silva easily flatlines Lopez, he's getting the shot. Yeah, featherweight just got real exciting. And whoever wins between Volkanovski and Murphy, they have lots of options on the table. It's the scary Gene Silva coming up guy. It's the champ from the other division, Aljamain Sterling. It's great things to get on your resume, if you somehow beat them. So, yeah. Also on UFC Shanghai, plenty of other fights on this card that were interesting. Sergey Pavlovich defeats Waldo Cortez Acosta via unanimous decision, 30-27, 29-28, 29-28. Waldo Cortez Acosta made it an interesting fight, keeping it on the feet, circling, trying to get out of the way of Sergey Pavlovich's big shots, but he was just too much, and he just built his way to an easily win. He built his way easily to a win. Sumaderji defeats Kevin Borges via unanimous decision, 30-27 across the board. He was just a longer, stronger fighter. It is what it is. He just looked bigger in there, and he was in his home country. He was gassed up, charged up, ready to go with a battery in his back. You couldn't stop him. So, yeah, Sumaderji with a big win, and glad to see him get on the right track. Tailaki Noraji defeats Kiefer Crosby via TKO strikes. Round 1, 3 minutes and 33 seconds. We need to talk about this one. Let's take a stop here and talk about how absolutely stupid and dumb of a decision it was for Kiefer Crosby to get back into this fight and strike with somebody like Noraji. My friend, you ate. Let's talk about this. Kiefer Crosby, while downed, eats a big shot, big illegal strike from Noraji. Immediately opens him up, starts leaking everywhere. He's dazed, wobbled, can barely get back to his feet, right? In a fight that he was already handily losing, getting beaten by Noraji. Most fighters, yeah, they're going to get back in the fight. They're going to be like, I want to fight. That's not how I want to end this fight. But most fighters on a 3-fight losing streak in the UFC have yet to get a win in the UFC, have not even shown a glimmer of their potential in the UFC. What they should do in those moments is take the win, my friend. You should not come back out and take more shots from a fighter that already has you way overpowered and way overmatched. That just landed a vicious illegal strike on you. The referee did the best he could to help you out by taking 2 points, but that's all he can do for you because your dumbass went back out there to fight. You are compromised, my friend. very, very compromised. That is not the best you going back there to fight somebody that is already 100% on their way to winning this fight. So why would you go back out there just to lose the fight? You could have easily taken your no contest, possibly a disqualification win, because again, the referee had to take 2 points for that strike. But no, sir. You end up going home with half your money, supposedly. I don't know how your contracts worked out. And your next consecutive loss in the UFC, and possibly your ticket to getting cut from the promotion. So Kiefer Crosby, unfortunately, you deserve to end up where you're going. And I don't think you're going to be in the UFC again after that performance, or after any of the performances that you provided. That was very low fight IQ, and I can't believe that you decided to go back out there for that fight. Yes, you're a fighter, and yes, we all know you're tough. You're an MMA fighter, dude. But sometimes you got to think about your career, and that was not a career decision, my friend. That was one of the worst decisions I've seen in the octagon in quite some time. That was crazy. That was absolutely crazy to do. Wow, that was bad. Gage Young defeats Hayashir Mahashate via unanimous decision, 30-27, 29-28, 29-28. G-Money. Gage Young gets a big win. Shout out to G-Money, man, because I had zero faith in the kid. Had no serious wins in the UFC. I didn't like what I saw from him in the fights that I saw. And Mahashate was the longer, stronger fighter fighting in his backyard, essentially. I thought this was going to be an easy win, but Gage Young put it on him, man. He put the pace on him, landed the better strikes, and he got the decision win. Shout out to Gage Young. Charles Johnson gets a huge win, knocking out Charles Johnson knocks out Loner Kavanaugh, round 2, 4 minutes and 35 seconds. The huge win by Charles Johnson marks his second prospect knocking off the tracks. The prospect trains do not go through Charles Johnson City. Okay, Charles Johnson takes them right off. He's a bandit, and he's here to take everything you worked for, motherfucker. That's why oh man, don't be scared, homie. Charles Johnson is here at flyweight to take out these prospects. Man, Loner Kavanaugh, Joshua Van, Charles Johnson is a problem. Shout out to Charles Johnson with one of the biggest wins of his career. He's got some dynamite in his hands, man. Ranju defeats Austin Hubbard, unanimous decision, 30-27, 29-28, 29-28. It was a solid fight. A little bit of back and forth. Hubbard just didn't have the gas for it in the end. Kyle Dawkins gets a huge win over Michelle Pereira. Round 1, only 43 seconds. It took 43 seconds for Kyle Dawkins to knock out Michelle Pereira. He was getting pieced up with some kicks, got hurt a little bit early, then started to build his base, landed his shots, landed one big strike on Pereira, followed up with a couple more strikes, and Kyle Dawkins gets the big win. His second stint in the UFC, he makes good on his promise, and he stays, knocks out Michelle Pereira, and takes everything that Michelle Pereira has been working for over the last few years. So yeah, Michelle Pereira just always falling short when he's in these positions, man. Every time you think he's supposed to, style on somebody, he does the exact opposite. And every time he's supposed to be in a tough fight, he finishes the guy in no time. It's crazy. He's another one of these fighters like Kevin Holland for me, where I just can't put my finger on him. And I just gotta. Sometimes you just gotta stay away. Ija defeats Weston Wilson in a beautiful knockout sequence, knocking out Weston Wilson with punches in round 1, 37 seconds. Oh my God, this man just walked in there and took his lunch money. He just walked him down, landed a barrage of punches, walked out with a stack of cash. That's it. It was easy. And then Su Young Yu defeats Zhao Long via unanimous decision, 29-28, 29-28, 29-28. This was unanimous for the judges. I believe this was a robbery. I truly believe this was a robbery. Zhao Long was doing way more in this fight, in my opinion. I thought it was a 30-27 Zhao Long. I thought Zhao Long won round 1. I thought he won round 2. He was landing the bigger, better shots. Su Young Yu was putting him up against the fence, but wasn't doing anything when he put him up against the fence. Zhao Long was landing all the shots while Su Young Yu was just controlling. I mean, control shouldn't win you the fight. It should be damage, And he did the same thing in round 3. And for some reason, the judges thought he earned 2 of those 3 rounds. But I did not think that. That was not the mindset I was for that fight. So unfortunately for Xiaolong, he took an L to Su Young Yu. It was a close fight, kind of, but I didn't view it that way at all. I thought Xiaolong was walking away with a clean, unanimous decision. But hey, maybe it wasn't a robbery. Maybe I'm a little crazy. But got to feel for some guys when they lose these decisions. And to end the fight, the card off, Yuran Saltabaldiev defeats Dayar Nurzhagay via submission. Ezekiel choke round 1, 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Beautifully set up, powerful. Showed that he was the dominant fighter in this and walked away with the big win. Shout out to Saltabaldiev. If you're wondering who got performance of the night's bonuses, it was Johnny Walker, Charles Johnson, Kyle Dawkins, and Uran Saltabaldiev. Okay, those were the 4 guys, and all 4 absolutely deserved it. They got them exactly right this night. Every single guy that got a bonus absolutely deserved their bonus. Beautiful Ezekiel choke by Saltabaldiev. Beautiful knockout from Dawkins, beautiful knockout from Charles Johnson, and beautiful knockout from Johnny Walker. Those are the guys that deserved it. The Kiefer Crosby KO was not deserved of a bonus. Okay, just in my opinion. All right, yeah, and yeah. Crazy that Dancing Ho Pahea is 1 loss away from fighting in Karate Combat. And honestly, I'm hoping it happens because send him over to Karate Combat. I'm done with him. I'm done with him. Send him over to Karate Combat, bro. Get him out of here. He would thrive over there, anyways. Imagine him doing backflips off the fucking the pit. That would be crazy. 100% with you, and would have a no contest and a decision would have been career saving. For real, it would have been. The guy really axed his own career by going back out there. Cosmo Kramer, Charles Johnson speaking Cantonese is different. Yeah, shout out to Charles Johnson because after he won, he stood up there, spoke Cantonese to the people and had the people going crazy for it. So shout out to Charles Johnson. Fox Duhan says, "What up, Donks? What up, Fox? How you feeling, brother?" Cosmo Kramer says, "Tell me another brother who tries to speak Chinese." I mean, Chris Tucker. That's all I know. Shotai. Sleetos is salty that I took Dawkins sub instead of Moneyline. I told y'all. I was telling y'all Dawkins all week. I was like, Dawkins, I never go pay. I'm done with him. He always gets it wrong for me. I'm going with Dawkins and plus money. And we fucking cashed, baby. We fucking cashed. It was a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful thing. Let's move on to the PFL, shall we? PFL 10 happened, headlined by Fabian Edwards taking on Dalton Rosta. Dalton Rosta walking into the arena with Dakota Ditcheva on his arm, wearing a pink getup matching Dakota Ditcheva. And unfortunately for him, it was not his night because Fabian Edwards took all the shine, all the momentum that he built walking into the night, and all the promos that he built and turned them right on his head. Fabian Edwards lands an enormous left high head kick 3 years to the date of the very same head kick that his brother Leon Edwards ended the reign of Kamaru Usman with. 3 years to the date of the head kick KO Leon Edwards had over Kamaru Usman, his brother Fabian Edwards does the same and knocks out his opponent in a comeback win in his own right. Fabian Edwards knocks out Dalton Rosta. Round 3, 1 minute and 28 seconds, and becomes the middleweight tournament champion in the PFL. He sets himself up with a big title shot against Costello Van Steenis, who had a come from behind win himself against the former champion, Johnny Eblen. This was a fantastic win for Fabian Edwards because the very same things that we've always been saying about Fabian Edwards, his grappling is his issue. Once you get him down, he's easy to keep down, blah, blah, blah. Well, once he got back up, he was able to land that big head kick and end the night of Dalton Rosta, flatlining Dalton Rosta immediately after that head kick landed. What a vicious win for Fabian Edwards. A come from behind victory we will never forget in the PFL. That was fantastic to see. I mean, the Edwards DNA just has left high head kick written all over it. All freaking over it. And like I said, we don't have to talk about what's next for Fabian Edwards because we know what's next. It's a matchup with Costello Van Steenis. Costello Van Steenis entering the ring afterwards, facing off with Fabian Edwards. And it's exciting to see both guys very respectful, and I'm excited to see that matchup at middleweight. It's going to be a banger. Who will win, the striking of Fabian Edwards or the grappling of Costello Van Steenis? It's going to be a classic matchup. I'm excited for it. So shout out to Fabian Edwards. Shout out to Leon Edwards. Shout out to Renegade. Right? He still fights a Renegade. Am I tripping about that? Does he not? I thought is he a Renegade? Yeah. Shout out to Renegade Fight Team. And yeah, big things for the team. They know striking over there. They know how to land that big high head kick and set it up as well. So shout out to them. PFL 10 happened, like I said, and it was headlined by Fabian Edwards knocking out Dalton Rosta. Other fights on the card. Oleg Popov defeats Alexander Romanov via split decision, 47-48, 49-46, 49-48 for the heavyweight tournament championship in the PFL. Oleg Popov is your champion, and deservedly so. I think he did beat Alexander Romanov. He got the first 3 rounds. He handily beat Romanov with his jab, with his power punches to the body. Romanov was investing with some big knees to the body of Popov, but Popov was staying wise to it, circling off, and then Romanov also trying to clinch to sap the gas tank of Oleg Popov, but Oleg Popov would separate, land a few strikes, and stayed above and ahead on the scorecards of the judges. So shout out to Oleg Popov. He gets a big win, and he's the heavyweight finalist. Also, shout out to Antonio Carlos Jr. with another PFL championship. He is your light heavyweight tournament finalist and champion for the PFL. Antonio Carlos Jr. does it again. He defeats Sullivan Cauley via submission, rear naked choke, round 2, 3 minutes and 44 seconds. And the beautiful thing about this is that Antonio Carlos Jr. is known for his grappling and his jiu-jitsu. That is the things that we know him for. And this man did not need them. He could have won this fight with his striking alone. He was piecing up Sullivan Cauley and beating Sullivan Cauley at his own game, landing big, powerful strikes. His jab was landing. He was landing low kicks and sapping him with punches and kicks to the body. Sullivan Cauley had no respite away from Antonio Carlos Jr. There was no place he was safe. He wasn't safe in the clinch. Antonio Carlos Jr. was stronger there. He wasn't safe on the feet. He was getting pieced up in every single way, close, medium, and far. He wasn't safe on the ground because Antonio Carlos, as soon as it went there, Antonio Carlos Jr. took that back and he submitted him with a rear naked choke. Antonio Carlos Jr. has now proven that he's dangerous everywhere, and he's a motherfucking problem at light heavyweight in the PFL. And if you haven't put respect on Antonio Carlos Jr.'s name by now, Shoeface is telling you better fucking do it, because you're in deep and hot fucking water when you're going against Antonio Carlos Jr. in the PFL. So shout out to him. Shout out to a huge win and one of the biggest wins of his career, because it was a statement win for Antonio Carlos Jr. Also on the card, Alexi Pregandi defeats Ethan Goss via submission, anaconda choke, round 1, 3 minutes and 52 seconds. Lazaro Dayron defeats Bryce Meredith with a come from behind win by TKO punches, round 3, 4 minutes and 6 seconds. Lazaro Dayron, goat shed, back in the house, beating Bryce Meredith. I mean, Bryce Meredith was putting his gas tank on him, must have gassed himself out too much in rounds 1 and 2, because round 3, Lazaro Dayron breaks away from some grappling exchanges, gets up, lands some big shots on Bryce Meredith, and he doesn't have the energy to defend himself anymore. Lazaro Dayron gets the TKO win. Impa Kasanganay, in a comeback win of his own, defeats Andrew Sanchez via TKO. Round 3, 4 minutes and 31 seconds. Impa Kasanganay was losing this fight handily. He lost round 1 to Andrew Sanchez, was getting jabbed up, pieced up, grappled. Lost round 2 to Sanchez. Andrew Sanchez was doing the same things, winning, landing some more interesting strikes. He started opening up some spinning back kicks, spinning back fists in this round. He was really separating himself from Impa Kasanganay. And round 3, he was doing more of the same. He was only 30 seconds away from his first win in a long time. But again, for the 7th time, I believe, Andrew Sanchez gets knocked out and loses to Impa Kasanganay. Unfortunately for El Duarte, he was so close to a win, but he succumbed to the strikes of ufcshanghai. Rasul Magomedov defeats Guillermo Viana via unanimous decision, 30-27 across the board in a forgetful fight. Sergey Bilostiny defeats Carl Williams via TKO punches, round 2, 4 minutes and 11 seconds. Very nice TKO win for Bilo. It was interesting at first. Carl was trying to put it on him with his pace and his grappling, but Sergey was just landing big, heavy shots, landing from the outside, and then capitalized when Carl Williams got in range. Josh Silveira defeats Murad Ramazanov via unanimous decision, 30-27, 29-28, 29-28. Shout out to Josh Silveira for getting back on track. People had him as a dog in this fight, and I did not understand that. Josh Silveira, one of the very best fighters in the PFL, and he was fighting somebody that was on a 3-fight losing streak. I don't know what the matchmakers were thinking on this one, but I cleaned up. Thank you very much. Shout out to the PFL for pricing this. Shout out to DraftKings and FanDuel for pricing this as such, because a lot of us made a lot of money on Josh Silveira. I don't know how they could doubt the kid, but he is still very, very good, and he turned back a very good wrestler and a pretty solid striker. So shout out to Josh Silveira. Shout out to Conan Silveira. Their team's doing great. The American Top Team is still doing great things. And then shout out to my Haitian brethren. Shout out to JP St. Louis, showing big love for my guy, defeating Tyler Ray via unanimous decision, 30-27, 29-28, 29-28. He showed his striking off. He showed his wrestling off. He showed his grappling off. He showed his toughness off. Shout out to JP St. Louis for staying in the fight, landing big shots, and showing the judges that he deserved the win. So shout out to my guy. And that was the PFL 10 results. Unfortunately, guys, there's no fighter spotlight this week. No fighter spotlight. I mean, none of the young guys really did anything worthwhile. I mean, maybe Alexi Pregandi, but I didn't think, that was it. Maybe Lazaro Darren, but he's more of a guy that's already made a name for himself, so I wasn't feeling that. And then all the prospects kind of lost on UFC Shanghai. It could have been Loner Kavanaugh. That didn't work out. Could have been Mashate. That didn't work out. It was a tough one. So, yeah, no fighter spotlight this week, unfortunately. Hopefully I could get one out to you guys next week. Let's check these comments. Fox Duhan says 3 years and 1 day. My bad. Wasn't trying to correct you. No, the facts are the facts are the facts. 3 years and 1 day, but basically 3 years. 3 years, baby. 3 years. I saw back. What up, Lazy? How you feeling? Salito says, did you ever see Dakota's reaction? And they showed on the broadcast, saw that PFL was getting heat for that, but I thought it was fun. Yeah, I mean, when she's like, oh, and then her friend was like, yeah, it was bad. It was bad. I mean, seeing your boyfriend knocked out on national TV probably isn't the greatest thing. Probably isn't fun, but it is what it is. You're both fighters. It's bound to happen at some time, right? Maybe Dakota will be on the end, and we'll have to see Dalton Rosta make one of those faces one day. You never know. And Fox says, I missed the Dakota reaction. It's all over social media, so you can still go check it out, Fox. Cosmos says, can we talk about Pavlovich being decent though? Heavyweight Yan? Maybe not. We need contenders. Yeah, he's all right. But I feel like if he gets back in there with Volkov still pieces him up again. Volkov just too long. He's going to stay on that jab, especially if Pavlovich fights like that. Pavlovich has to fight like a killer and come in with reckless abandon if he wants to beat a guy like Volkov. So unfortunately, he's going to stay at that gatekeeper kind of guy, kind of like Peter Yan has been these last few years. If he doesn't, change something about that game plan, because after that Aspinall fight, he seems a little gun shy. Cosmo Kramer says, fuck that bully Dalton Rosta. I'm white, Midwest, tall drink of water, but rooting for that douche over Edwards is impossible. Yeah. I mean, Dalton Rosta was saying some weird shit. He's like, yeah, we're going to show who's the man in there when he gets in there with me and all this shit. And I was like, oh, my God, Fabian Edwards is about to head kick his fucking chin off. That's exactly what happened. This is what happens when you talk too much shit without actually having the skill to back it up. No offense to Dalton Rosta. I know he has a lot of skill, but, man, talking shit like that to a guy like Fabian Edwards, who is a proven guy, was a bold fucking move. And unfortunately, it backfired. Backfired like a motherfucker. Fox Duhan says Shoeface went hard. LOL. Yeah, he did. Birmingham, stand up. Peaky Blinders home. And Lazy says Shoeface was awesome. I was loving Shoeface's win because I was also on him as a dog. And I was like, y'all better put some respect on my guy. Who the fuck is Sullivan Collie? No offense to him. But I was like, this is a former champion right here. Put some respect on him. And then Lazy says, tell Long Island Lou to check his PMs when you talk to him. I booked his next pairing for prop quiz. Oh, shit. And then MMA Guru found pantless decapitated in lake. Raja is innocent. Okay, that's fair. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. Let's get into some boxing. We got a couple boxing cards to talk about before we get out of here. MVP fight night happened. A couple fights happened that were pretty interesting. I just want to touch on them before we get the fuck up out of here. The WBA interim flyweight title was on the line, and Yankiel Rivera and Angelina Cordova fought to a draw, a majority decision draw. It was 111, 115, 113, 113, 113, 113. Unfortunately, there was nobody walking away with the title. It was interim. It is what it is. Might have to rematch this one because it was a solid fight. For the WBA interim super welterweight title, Abbas Barao defeats Yoani Tellez via unanimous decision 116, 111, 115, 112, 117, 110. It was looking like a solid fight for Tellez. Tellez was on his jab. He was circling. He was doing all the right things. And then I think he ate a big shot in round 7, I believe. Basically barely got back to his feet, stayed in the fight, but had nothing left afterwards. His legs were gone. His gas tank was gone. That big shot seemingly took everything out of him. And Barao wins the fight, wins the title, and is the super welterweight champion, interim champion. It was wild to see. So shout out to Barao. For the WBA women's lightweight title, Stephanie Hahn defeats Paulina Angel via unanimous decision 98-91, 98-91, 98-91. Stephanie Hahn with a dominant win, but it should be noted she was dropped very early in round 1. Very, very early. Had me shook because I thought Paulina Angel was about to steal this. And then comes from behind, beats up Paulina Angel, stays on her jab, and officially just completely takes the fight out of her hands. Stephanie Hahn basically walked away with that fight from there. And it was all one-way traffic. Stephanie Hahn with a big win, defends her title, and she's the lightweight champion for the WBA. And in a WBA lightweight title eliminator, Lucas Body defeats Roger Gutierrez via unanimous decision, 116, 111, 117, 110, 115, 112. At light heavyweight, Ariel Perez defeats Chris Avila via unanimous decision. Yes, that's the same one we all know with the Diaz camp, 58-56, 58-56, 59-55. I'm just kidding. And then on the prelims, WBA super flyweight title, Jasmine Artiga defeats Lynn Sandstrom via third round TKO. I know I said that this fight would be a decision. There's no way it would be a TKO. I was fucking wrong. I was wrong. Lynn Sandstrom got pieced up and knocked out in round 3. Holy. And I can't believe that was on the prelims. That was on the prelims, yeah. At super lightweight, Jermaine Ortiz defeats Ambra Bautista via third round TKO. I told you our boy Jermaine was about to put some hands on him. I thought it was going to be a decision, but Jermaine Ortiz ends up TKOing him in round 3 as well. So shout out to Jermaine Ortiz and his camp. Big win. And at super flyweight, Natalie Dove defeats Randy Lynn Morales via second round TKO. Go ahead and watch that as well. And at light flyweight, Jocelyn Camarillo defeats Augustina Solange Vasquez via unanimous decision 40-36, 39-37, 39-37. And that was MVP fight night. Another boxing card that happened was Jake Wyllie and Youssef Dib. I'm going to quickly go through these results just for a little housekeeping, you know. Jake Wyllie defeats Youssef Dib by unanimous decision, 97-94, 98-92, 98-92. Jake Wyllie looked great. He looked powerful. He looked strong. He had ring generalship, and he was doing exactly what he needed to do to get the win. But the star of the show here was Sky Nicholson. Sky Nicholson. Sky Nicholson defeats Urvashi Singh by TKO in round 2. Sky is back, baby. Use these hands, put him on him, and made that girl eat every single one of those lefts and rights. Sky Nicholson put it on her and got herself a nice TKO win in round 2. Shout out to Sky Nicholson. Back on track with a big win. Alex Lapai defeats Tom Napti via TKO in round 1. Also, Leah Rubin defeats Jitimat Famta via TKO in round 7. On the prelims, Jimmy Fosamai defeats Patrick Clark via unanimous decision 40-35, 40-36, 40-36. Riley Allen defeats Lafia Rubin via unanimous decision 40-34 across the board. And Cassidy Thornberry defeats Surshit Tamgala via TKO in round 1. And that was the Jake Wyllie versus Youssef Dib card. And the last boxing card that I'll be talking about from the weekend is Jack Rafferty versus Mark Chamberlain. These are the results that happened there. Jack Rafferty defeats, and fights Mark Chamberlain to a majority draw. 114, 114, 114, 114, and 114, 115. This was a majority draw. Unfortunately, 2 draws in the same weekend. If you were betting draws this weekend, you were cashing out. If you're one of those guys that I bet the draw on every big boxing fight. Well, motherfucker, this was a big weekend for you. I hope you had them parlayed too, because a plus 5,000 with a plus 5,000 would have been a crazy pull. So I hope one of you motherfuckers cash. Jack Turner defeats Nicholas Augustine Morgaza via TKO, round 6, a minute and 30 seconds. Lewis Richardson defeats Arjun Spotter via points, 60-54 across the board. Zach Miller defeats Leon Woodstock via unanimous decision, 117, 111, 117, 112, 117, 112. And on the prelims, Jack Power defeats Dimitri Prokunas via points, 60-54. Nelson Bertrall defeats Federico Sebastian Pedraza via KO in round 1. Charlie Sr. defeats Darwin Martinez by points, 60-54 across the board. Stephen Kames defeats Kirk Stevens by TKO in round 5. And Henry Turner defeats Ivan Blazevic via TKO in round 3. On the post limbs, Egan Lavin defeats Dimitri Alakau by points, 59-55. And Stephen Clark defeats Joe Hardy by points, 60-54. That's it for boxing that happened over the weekend. If you're looking for upcoming boxing, unfortunately, that's all we got next week. We don't have PFL next week. We don't have UFC next week. We got Misfits Boxing. We got Luke Rockhold taking on Darren Till. We might be doing a watch along right here on this channel for that, so don't forget to come on by for that. But other boxing notables happening in the future. We got a big September slate, motherfuckers. So don't worry about that. We got September 5th in Dublin, Ireland. Mike Conlon taking on Jack Bates in 10 rounds at featherweight. Also, Ben Marchby versus Sinan Kelly on the card, 10 rounds at junior welterweight. September 6th in Nogales, Mexico. Oscar Valdez is taking on Ricky Medina, 10 rounds at junior lightweight. We also have the September 13th in Las Vegas fight between Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford. That's 12 rounds for Alvarez's undisputed super middleweight championship. September 13th in Belfast, Northern Ireland on the zone. We also have Lewis Crocker taking on Paddy Donovan. 12 rounds for the vacant IBF welterweight title. Ishmael Davis will be taking on Cayman Argacchio on the card. 10 rounds of junior middleweight. Tyrone McKenna will be taking on Dylan Moran on the card. 10 rounds at welterweight. Also on September 13th, a triple header in Niedersachsen, Germany, a title fight between Sarah Borman and somebody to be announced. 10 rounds for Borman's WBO women's strawweight title. September 14th in Nagoya, Japan, we have Naoya Inoue taking on Akhmadaliev. 12 rounds for Inoue's undisputed junior featherweight championship. Also on the card, a title fight between Yoshiki Take and Christian Medina Jimenez. 12 rounds for Take's WBO bantamweight title. And Yuni Takada taking on Ryusei Matsumoto. 12 rounds at strawweight. And finally, we've been beating you over the head with this November 22nd fight in Saudi Arabia. David Benavidez, Anthony Yarde, Jesse Bam Rodriguez, Fernando Daniel Martinez, Abdullah Mason, Sam Noakes, Brian Norman Jr., Devin Haney, Surreal Matias, Dalton Smith. Do not miss November 22nd in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Okay? Do not fucking miss it. And that's all I got for boxing. Last thing I got for you, since I have no picks for next week, besides the, Darren Till decision is obviously what I want for the Luke Rockhold fight. I don't think he knocks out Luke Rockhold, but Darren Till decision for sure. This week's wins, bitch. This week's wins. I gave you motherfuckers this parlay. Fabian Edwards, Oleg Popov, Alexei Pergande. Guess what, bitch? It fucking cashed. That's right. Plus 144. It cashed as a plus 145 on FanDuel, plus 144 on DraftKings. You're welcome, people. Handed you a nice PFL parlay on a Thursday. And if you tailed and you were there for it, you cashed. And not only did I help you on one low-risk parlay, but I gave you a motherfucking high-risk parlay with Lazaro Dayron, Josh Silveira, and Jean-Pierre St. Louis, my Haitian brother. And guess what, bitch? That shit cashed too at a plus 843 on DraftKings, a plus 829 on FanDuel for some reason. But guess what? Daddy gave you 2 fucking parlays and they both cashed. So guess what? Your ass should be thanking me and getting me some subs and getting my watch hours up so I can get monetized and shit. Show me some love. Don't forget to like and subscribe, okay? And this was a beautiful iteration of this week's wins. If you don't already, please like and subscribe. Scan them QR codes below. We were doing watch-alongs this weekend at 3 a.m. for the UFC Shanghai card. We were giving you nothing but wins on a fucking Thursday PFL 10 stream. Please scan the QR codes below. Give me your subscribes and likes. I think it's warranted at this point. It's for free, by the way. Free. Yes. Don't forget to follow on social because that's where we put out the parlays. One more round fights everywhere except for X, where it's one more round F8. Okay? Marasakas. And that's it for my stream. Let me get through this chat and then I'm going to get up out of here. I'm going to bounce, bitch. MMA gurus found pain. You know what I mean. He did what they planned on doing to someone. And someone was supposed to pull him off, I guess, and they just didn't do it in time. Night, y'all. Good night, moron. Yeah, my bad, Milker. That was a little typo. But yeah, appreciate everybody that showed up. Also, sponsors. Hey, sponsors, show me some fucking love. So nobody wants to sponsor the stream? Just Dubby? Damn, y'all are cold as ice. I've been giving out free shit, dubbies left and right, doing streams, and nobody wants to sponsor. That's cold, man. That's cold. I can't believe y'all. That's something else. Next sponsor hits me up, you're gonna have a sweet deal because I'm gonna lock you in. I'm gonna be like, yo, you're good for long as hell because you're one of the firsts. But if you don't want to capitalize, you don't want to capitalize. It is what it is. All I can do is beat you over the head with it, right? Shout out to everybody that came through in the chat today. Shout out to Melker, Wheels Up, Cosmo, MMA Guru found pantless decapitated in a lake, Fox Duhan, Cosmo, Sleeto, Wheels Up, Richland, Melker, Ryu Ken, Main Card Minute, Alex, Lazy, if I didn't already say Lazy. I'm sure a bunch of other people are lurking. I'm sure John Ray's lurking. I'm sure a whole bunch of people are lurking. But appreciate you guys. Thanks for checking out another stream. Hopefully you enjoy this throughout your day and use it to get to your next stream. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Show love to the channel so you can keep this channel going. And yeah, have a good night. Have a good week. Enjoy your week. It's going to be a big Monday. We got a lot of shit to come on and see. We have no MMA next week, but hopefully we can get a fantasy fight series going for you since there'll be no CP units. So yeah, see you guys later in the week. Let's try to do the stream for Till and Rockhold. So come on back here. Luke will join me for that stream. So please show some love there and have a good week. Have a good night. I'm out.